On It's the Economy today, we look at the hiring pace of corporate India. As per the economic survey, the total number of employed Indians is around 57 crore. And the India Employment Report of the Labour Ministry says that about 11 crore are in the formal sector. The rest are, agriculture and other non-formal services. Now, recently, this formal job market has faced some shocks. For instance, last year, total hiring by one of the largest employers, the infotech IT companies, contracted. I mean, not just slowed, it contracted. Then, second, there have been protests against Agniveer scheme, lateral recruitments into the government, indicating there is a problem of jobs. The government too appeared to reflect the concern on the ground in the budget when it announced 3 employment schemes and even 1 skilling scheme. So, is India creating less formal jobs? The people who would know best are the hiring companies, and joining me are Ramani Dathi, the CFO of TeamLease, and Lohit, Bhatia, President of Workforce Management at Quess Corp. Lohit and Ramani, thank you very much indeed for your time. Ramani, let me start with you. You all have put out a report. You all have surveyed people on hiring intent. Just give me the back numbers. Compared to, 2023 first half, second half, and 2024 first half, how has the hiring trend been?
Sure, Latha. So firstly, compared to last year, we are seeing good increase in demand in sectors like manufacturing, engineering, retail, e-commerce, FMCG, FMCG. IT and to some extent, even BFSI is still facing a little bit of headwinds. We are seeing single-digit growth in those sectors. In fact, IT for a long period, it was declining on overall headcount for us as well as in general. But now we are seeing the headcount being stabilized in IT, and we are expecting positive growth coming from Jan 2025 onwards. Also, in terms of sectors as well as locations, metros still are absorbing the maximum employment generation as far as formal jobs are concerned. And the fresher hiring intent, there is a slight improvement compared to H1 of this year. So there is about 4% improvement compared to Jan to June period versus the coming half year for this year. And also in less than 5-year experience profiles, we are seeing good increase in demand. However, for mid and senior level position, as of now, we have seen a slight drop in the demand, but overall outlook has been positive as of now.
Very important. If fresher hiring is good and it's only senior hiring that's seeing some plateauing, that is still a huge positive. And I get your numbers. I think your survey said that fresh hiring was 68% of the people you surveyed said they will hire freshers, whereas for the second half, 72% have said. So clearly, fresher hiring seems to have increased. Lohit, Bhatia, again, give us an overall picture first before I come to this perhaps unnecessary worry over IT. How has the hiring been at Quess Corp's end last year, 2 halves, and this year?
Sure, Latha, thank you very much and happy to be on your show. I think first we should start with the overall macro picture. India is about 1.4 billion people. Of that, if you look at the people who are in the working age population is about 89 crore or about 890 million. Of that, the labor force participation, as you've also pointed out, and so does the Economic Survey of India, clearly reflects that we've got about 57% of India's population, which is in the labor force today. There are 2 or 3 dynamics below that data. The first dynamic is that we've got almost 79 to 80% of Indian population in informal work. And we've got only about 21% people in formal or regular jobs, which are backed up by social security, which are backed up by pension and other benefits as well. So this gives you a disparity between low wages versus high wages. I think the last 33 years, what India has been able to effectively do is focus on the white-collar, postgraduate, as far as the liberalization are concerned. We are all beneficiaries. On this call, most of the channel members are the ones who've probably been in that cohort. What the government is now trying to change is they're looking at the base of the pyramid. They're looking at the blue-collar, the grey-collar worker. Why do I say that? One, you have a transition of informal economy happening to formal. The second transition is rural to urban India. Yeah. The third is, in the last 20 years, we've spent a lot on education and skilling. Can we do more? Obviously, we should do more. But we have still spent a lot on that. when you spend on education and skilling and you ensure everybody goes up to a 10th standard or a 12th standard, they do not want an informal job on the farm, either as Manrega or as a casual worker. They are looking for formal jobs. They're looking at jobs which back social security. So if you look at Quess's own data, we came out with our Q1 results. We were 3,000 shy of 600,000 mark. In the last 1 year itself, we've grown at about 61,000 net addition to employment. However, the bigger number is hidden in the UAN. During a year when Quess added 61,000 net jobs, we added 166,000 people who came to Quess for the very first time taking a UAN number from us. What are we telling you? We are trying to tell you that a lot of informal workers are moving to formality. And an average wage here is about 22,000 rupees a month. So that shift is...
One minute, Lohit. Can you just repeat that number again? How many people did you all arrange in terms of staffing in FY23 and then in FY24? What you call the UAN number?
So in FY23, it was about 56,000 people. And 56,000 people, Latha, is net addition. We have gross ads, the people who come to our employment, but then we have attrition. The difference is the growth which happens in employment. It was 56,000. It grew to 61,000 in the last financial year. That's the first data point. However, again, 61,000 net additions, the more data point that gives us more pleasure is that 166,000 people came to Quess and seek the UAN for the very first time. They could be aged anywhere between 18 and 24. So again, Latha, I come back to the point. People are looking not to be dependent on Manrega. Manrega earns you only 205 rupees for 115 days. People are looking for formal jobs backed up with social security. So the government's discussion in this budget, and I like the fact that in the budget they came out with employment-linked incentive programs. They've not just spoken about employment 27 times in the budget, they've given 2 trillion rupees to back it up with what they intend to do. And that's the transition of the economy from informal to formal, backed up by formal jobs.
No, that's excellent. Just one more number, if you can give me. You said 166,000 were the gross additions to UAN number. And the net additions were 61,000.
The total gross additions at Quess level, Latha, in a year is about 300,000 plus. Of that 300,000 plus, people who already had a UAN were about 140,000. And people who did not have a UAN and came from informal to formal were 166,000. Net addition was 61,000. I'll also spend I'll also spend 30 seconds on IT because you spoke about it.
No, I think just a minute. Lohit, 1 minute. Let me just get Ramani's numbers also on this. Ramani, what are TeamLease's numbers in terms of net addition? I think even you all have about 300,000, 3 lakh employees or even more. What has been the net addition to employment over, say, FY23, FY24, FY25?
Yes, Latha. So in a month, we do gross additions of roughly about 25,000. Out of the 25,000, almost 6,000 of them are first-time enrollments to EPFO, so new UEN numbers. So these are either the new employees or the employees that are getting shifted from informal jobs to formal jobs, like how Lohit has explained. So the net addition for us in a year would be roughly about 50,000 odd. And about 25 to 30% of them are either the shift from informal to formal or the new UEN generators.
Okay. And would you have, was FY24 better than FY23? Is FY25 currently better than FY24? The numbers are higher.
Yes, that's right. So we have been consistently growing about 20% on the volume growth in the net additions year on year over the last 2-3 years.
No, that's definitely music to my ears and for anybody who's looking at employment. Now, Lohit, this worry about IT and, whether the fact that they contracted last year is giving a fear. That sparks the fear that perhaps, Bangalore homes are not, rentals are falling. It has a multiplier effect. So is that decreasing the formal employment?
Fair enough. I'll just first go back to that data that we started with. 57 crore or 570 million people are in the workforce as far as India is concerned today. Reflect that with the IT number. As per NASSCOM and the IT industry, we've got between 5.5 to 6 million people in the IT industry. So first data point is a total of only 1% of India is actually employed in the IT market as on today. Yes, I do agree that they have a disproportionate contribution to the economy. They create about $250 billion of services export, which is very, very crucial for the nation. They are also the 5.626 million IT workforce is part of the overall 120 million people which are in the formal jobs. So hence there is an obsession of the people all the time to know about what is happening in IT. But Latha, in IT, what is happening is we should rather look at three constituents. IT can be broken up into IT services companies, which are the listed and the large companies which all of you track and write about. There are the GCCs, and then there are also the enterprises who hire IT professionals, but within the core sector. It could be banking companies, it could be retail companies, it could be manufacturing companies, and so many others. What's happening in the last 20 years in India is, as the advent of IT happened, a lot of global market work came to India for what is called as transactional management. You're doing AR, AP, you're doing records, receivables, and payables and other things. As you move up in the value chain, you move from transactions to transformation. That's where generative AI and a lot of cutting edge technology starts to get used, and that work starts to happen. A lot of GCCs which have grown in India have grown on the back of transactions increasing for their global companies and hence setting up shop in India. And secondly, going into the transformation. The third aspect which has now started to happen with the new GCCs coming is even further, which is product and IP development. This is the time when GCCs move to the next level. They start to build product and IP in the country itself. And whenever this transformation will take place, we will see some degree of shift of the workforce and the hiring intent from traditional IT services companies to GCCs. That's the first part.
Yeah,
I think we must understand that recalibration has taken place or is taking place. IT workers are still the 5.5 to 6 million. Second point, Latha, and as you know, in 2021, there was a huge FOMO. Almost everybody in the IT services world was hired at 40-70% increases and hikes in wages. That is not happening again. And I think that's what is probably coming as a shock, because in the last 8 quarters, it's been a little bit of downsizing to rebalance the total projects versus the total deployed strength. But I must tell you, green shoots have
started in the IT. I'm very sorry I'm rushing you. I'm very sorry I'm rushing you because I get all of 12 minutes with both of you. Lohit, just give me a number. Percentage rise in the number of people you have staffed in FY25, FY24, FY23. Is there a rise? What is the rise?
So FY22 was our highest as far as IT is concerned. And at that point of time,
I meant overall.
Yes, and we were looking at overall a number of about 5,000 to 6,000 open mandates and demand in IT at any given point of time. In the year FY23-24, that open mandate and demand shrank to as low as about 1,000, 1,200 at any given point of time in the IT industry. Today, it's back up at about 1,500 to 1,600 open mandates with IT at any given point of time.
Lohit, I'm asking you overall, not IT. I'm just asking you overall, what is the increase in staffing that you all have done?
61,000, Latha, which was the net additions last financial year. This financial year, first quarter results are already out. We've achieved 30,000 already in the first quarter itself.
Okay, then we are, we shouldn't be complaining about hiring at all. Ramani and Lohit, thank you very much. It was a rushed conversation, but the big takeaway from both of you is that there is a steady 20% and as TeamLease says, and perhaps even more in Quess Corp in terms of hiring by Indian industry. So not to complain, the worry is perhaps overstated. On that note, we wrap up on Bazaar. Chartbusters coming up.